Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, the Manga Man here, and today we're talking about One Piece chapter 1008. So I got up this morning to essentially let out the dog. It's approximately 7 o'clock-ish, maybe just a bit before UK time, and I had a quick look because I knew the translations were going to come out at some point, and here they are. So without further ado, let's get into this review. So, before we get started, as always, please support the official release. This is based on Scanlation translations, fan translations, so do take this with a pinch of salt. And as always, all the links to my socials and a few of the things timestamps will be below, so feel free to check them out, especially Twitter, as if you follow me there, you'll normally get notified within a minute of me posting this video. And the way YouTube's algorithm works, it's just easier, and you're guaranteed to kind of get notified. And my subreddit, which I normally post wherever I find these chapters, plus videos. And when the community starts developing more, I'm sure they'll start posting their thing as well. That being said, let's get to this chapter now. Before, one other thing, if you want a detailed analysis and a breakdown, ultimately the best people to check out are people like Tekken 101 and Soy 7 Mage. So I will try and make these chapters videos around about 10 minutes long, so bear that in mind. Once I develop and I've got a bit bigger audience and more retention, then we can look at expanding and adding more detail. Hopefully soon, because I know One Piece is supposed to end in the next 4 or 5 years. Anyway, so let's kind of go through the chapter while it's fresh in my head and while I've got it in front of me. The cover page really is about Robin essentially creating a Pegasus out of a horse who wants to fly. Nice and easy. And the title is to do with Ashura Doji, which we find out why. The chapter itself pretty much is either returns or rematches. So either we return to a scene, like we return to what happens upstairs, or a return of a character. And I think at this point it really is upping the stakes, as people are returning and putting certain people in positions to build up that suspense for the end of this act, before the good guys can come back and do their thing in Act 4, like these type of dramas do in Japan. So that's the kind of the key theme here. So let's kind of go through the main course of events. Sorry, I keep rubbing my nose up on the itch. So the first thing that really gets addressed is the Oden situation, and ultimately, because of the foolishness or the naivety of the majority of the scabbards, the end result really is that Ashura Doji is down, and we'll get to that. So everyone's excited to see Oden. Oden's explanation is, oh yeah, I got sent to the future by Toki, and basically everyone's like, yeah, you can imagine they want him to be alive, they want him to be real, they want him to be that Oden that they knew from so long ago. But the one person that straight away says, wait, that's wrong, is Ashura Doji. And then you get to see that my favorite Kappa be there, like, wait, yeah, Toki said that, how our power works. The idea is you can't go to the past, you can go to the future. That her ability goes one way, and then while Kinemon is essentially distracted, it looks like he's gonna get attacked by Oden, and Ashura Doji steps in, tries slashing at Oden, realizes there's no blood, and he gets stabbed in the process. They soon realize, after thinking about how closely this resembles the mannerisms and looks of Oden, that it had to be somebody who knew him well, which in this case is Kanjuro. So it's the return of Oden, fake Oden, Foden, and Kanjuro, who's while he's essentially away, he's using the opportunity to go find Momonosuke, because he's been told by the Bao Hang and his crew of androids to where they are. So he's gonna go take care of that. We are told though that essentially, basically, due to him being further away, it's harder to do and he'll be tired. So that does give a handicap and makes it a bit easier for him to be defeated. We also kind of get Kiku saying, I'm sorry I couldn't kill him, and then Ashura Doji saying it's fine, he was a friend, it's harder to kill a friend. Then we find out Oden's basically got a bomb, and Ashura Doji tackles him out the window, and there's an explosion, and Ashura Doji is down. This probably helps a little bit. I mean, he was injured anyway, but he is one of the strongest scabbards in my opinion. So taking him out of the equation for now, for a ground return later on, it's probably worthwhile because it adds to the drama, so to speak. So then they're running off to try to help Momonosuke, and then they get intercepted by good old Jack. And basically Jack's like, yeah, time to kick your asses, time to kill you. And there's a scene here that I would really love to see animated. I can't wait when it does get animated. Speaking of the anime, I've kind of just left a load of chapters so I can just binge watch it when I get a chance. But basically, the dog Duke himself stops Jack and says, I'll be your opponent basically. But there's an interaction where basically Jack's like, there's no moon anymore, so you can't go so long. And the lovely dog Duke himself is like, yeah, there's no poisonous either. There's no poisonous gas at all. And I really like that because they've fought before and twice now, and they've had tools or weapons to use to their advantage, and now it's going to be a good little fight there to hopefully keep him at bay. Now, I've always felt the Dukes have been powerful enough to be considered like Yonko commander level, so the fact that we've got that is really good, and we'll get to see where he scales. Now this does is this throws a curveball for a lot of thoughts, and some people were thinking maybe we'll get Yamato versus Jack, and that'll prove his commander level, or Sanji versus Jack, and that'll prove his commander level, that sort of thing. That doesn't seem to be the case right now, but it could be something down the line. But ultimately, for the time being, is going to be the Dog Duke versus Jacques the Drought. So yeah, that kind of ties that part of the story up. Then we do move on to Yamato, and Yamato's having a discussion with Momonosuke about his ability, and he's saying whenever he gets a bit anxious he transforms, but he's beginning to control it more. And Yamamoto says, oh, you got your powers like my father, and he goes, I wish I could be like that, I'd be more help. So this does kind of allude to something he's going to develop in the future. He's going to basically become the new Kaido in terms of power down the line, and I imagine at that point that's going to be a good security blanket for Wano. So he does wonder and worry about Luffy. Well, Yamato does, because he wants to help him as Oden. And basically Momonosuke says, oh, he's alive, but he's basically fading and tired. And they're like, how do you know this? And obviously this guy's probably got some type of innate Kenbunsho Haki, because he can hear the hot voice of all things as well. So I'm guessing that's what that is. We will get to the Luffy bit at the end, but another kind of key thing here was the return of him. So we got Kanjuro back, we got fake Oden, we now have the Shogun himself, Orochi, back. He's alive. The head of the ninja crew with the big earlobes is there with him as well, and he's basically burning down the place for revenge against Kaido. Which makes sense. It's probably going to be explained that he's got something to do with abilities, I'd imagine, because he has multiple heads as Orochi snake, like 8-headed Orochi, that you'll have to cut his head off 8 times, or he'll have the ability to regenerate a head or be alive, ultimately due to his power, or is some type of clone made by Kanjuro. That being said, yeah, he's alive, and whatever. Now we can move on to Luffy. So the Luffy situation is he's trying to hit Kaido, but he's in a tired state, and he's basically just getting flared back. And everyone else is basically there still. No one's really down at this point, but it's kind of like you keep attacking him, nothing's happening, and Luffy's like, no, it's gonna happen. The amount of attacks we've landed, they're humans, we'll be able to defeat them. To which surprises a lot of people, because they're basically saying, you think they're still human after all of this? And it's I guess the optimistic way Luffy looks at things, because realistically, yes, they might have powers that are beyond human scope, they might have durability that's superhuman, they might have strength and speed that's superhuman, but they are still human. And looking at it from that point of view really puts things in perspective, and sometimes there is a mental strength to have, and people start planning how to deal with them, and they look to separate them. And Kid makes a comment saying it's like hell. And Luffy's like, well, if that's the case, I've been to hell and back quite a few times. And that shows his experience, because we don't necessarily know how much struggle the rest of them did to get to this point. We know Kid has been trying to fight against the Yonko. We know he lost his arm to Shanks. But we don't know before that how much of a struggle. Because essentially Luffy has had death matches up until this point, whether it was against the leader of the CP9 or the strongest of the CP9, Rob Lucci, whether it was against Katakuri. Ultimately he has done that, so his mindset, on top of him being just how he is a lot more battle tested and battle hardened. So ultimately that's making that difference in these statements, I guess. Zoro is still Zoro. He's like, listen, can you actually help us rather than just doing what you're doing. So Zoro is just Zoro still, and we get this lovely cover page towards the end where we see Kaido and Big Mom stood next to each other. Zeus and Prometheus are in full form, and we see hybrid Kaido, who basically looks like human Kaido with more scales, horns and teeth, which is understandable because it's meant to be the best of both worlds. With that big size, sometimes mobility might have been an issue and leave him open to attacks. Now he's closer to human form, maybe a bit bulkier, and he'll be able to use the best of both worlds, setting up the gauntlet for a big finale down the line. So let's see how this ends. For now, exciting chapter. Thank you for those who got this far. As always, like, comment, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.